ladies about what are some of the things that you're doing right now to stay grounded right now. As Black women are listening to this right now, and they might be wondering, what can I do? Because I just feel so unsettled right now. Like there's so much news constantly coming up. It's like chaos and confusion, just like constantly new things coming on. You're like, oh my gosh, what's next? It's like nonstop. So, what are some of the things that you all do to help yourself get grounded and be centered during this time? I'll start with you, Pryl.
So it's funny that you asked that because what I'm thinking of, my son and I were talking about that earlier today, this morning. And as I mentioned to you all offline, I am back in wonderful fiery Phoenix. Okay. So I had to put this hair up. But one of the things that I do is I step back. I can't tell you a lot of what's happening
Mhm.
in the, I guess, the political sphere. I have a general idea, but as far as being able to know point by point and exactly, up to the moment what's happening, I stepped back. As a matter of fact, when Obama was running for his first term, I kind of started just because I noticed a change in things getting nasty. And as
Mhm.
someone who is a lifelong learner, as
Mhm.
someone who, likes to stay informed,
Mhm.
man, it was too much.
Yeah.
I am such an empath. I
Mhm.
have, I hold so much space for other people naturally.
Mhm.
I've made, I made my peace with it. I can't help it. But I find myself taking on a lot of those things. Other people's commentary, just different things, as you said, all of the stuff that is flying at us, and
Mhm.
it can be overwhelming for
Mhm.
people that are like me, who are wired like me. So I cannot control everything that's going on,
Yeah.
but I can control what, like, content that I'm putting in. And
Right.
even if it means I have to resist, I found myself going on this one website. It's probably like a couple months ago. I found myself going on this one website like several times a day, just kind of
Mhm.
getting sucked back into all the things that are going on. And I'm reading the comments and I'm feeling this and feeling that. So
Mhm.
yeah, what I do is just take a step back, look and see what you can control out of all
Mhm.
of this stuff, even if
Mhm.
it is, like in my case,
Mhm.
controlling what things I consume. So that's
Mhm.
one of the things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's very powerful. It's for us to remember to focus on what we can control in this moment and be intentional about it, right? So you
Hmm.
said that you were looking at the website and you found yourself, wait a minute, I'm looking at it a lot. I'm getting sucked into it. So you know that feeling when you get sucked into stuff. So we have to have boundaries with ourselves
Hmm.
that we don't get pulled into. It might even be conversations with people. They
Yeah.
might bring up, girl, you know what's going on? There's some crazy. Yes, I know, and then kind of slowly kind of remove yourself from it if you feel like you're getting sucked in and you're getting caught up in this whirlwind. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that, Pearl. What about for
Hmm.
you, Marissa? What are some of the things that you're doing to be grounded and centered during this time?
I think similarly, turning off notifications has been helpful.
Mm,
Limiting my time on social media because the
mhm.
algorithm like feeds on our fear, on our
True.
confusion, right? And so that's what it continues to feed us. And so, yeah, having to set those boundaries, like I'm only going to look at a certain social media app on this
Mhm.
day if I'm feeling overwhelmed, or like
Mm,
limiting my time on it if I have to be on it for work, and just realizing that you have the power to set those boundaries because it can feel like this fear that you're going to miss something.
mhm.
But know that you can return to it after you've
True.
regulated your nervous system, after you've
Mhm.
taken breaths, right, to come back
Mhm.
down and center yourself. It will still be there. It will still
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
Also reminding myself, I think of Black women liberators who have came before me. And
Mm,
Dr. Kamai, you've done such a wonderful job of like highlighting their stories, right, throughout history of things that we are now carrying forward in
mhm.
2025. That the struggles that they have been through, the using their voices during
Yeah.
times of chaos, right,
Yeah.
as we find ourselves in today, and refusing to mute our voices, because our
Mhm.
voices are really needed during this time.
Mhm.
So yeah, kind of
Mhm.
rooting myself in history in that sense too. Hmm.
Yeah, kind of tapping in, tapping out, right? Because we
Hmm.
cannot just ignore what's happening because we need to stay informed because it's something always happening. And we might feel like, oh my God, I'm missing out. I'm going to miss this. But news keeps repeating itself. So more than likely, you're not going to miss out. And learning from our ancestors and what they've gone through, learning from their wisdom and knowing that they've gone through much worse and they
Hmm.
persevered. And I have one of my favorite t-shirts on. I don't know if you can
I
see
was
it.
gonna say.
I am I am my ancestors' wildest dream. What's my one of
Hmm.
my favorite t-shirts. And so when I think about what we're going through right now, is that we have to really reflect on and learn from the experiences of our ancestors. Part of what
Hmm.
our ancestors did too was that no matter what was going on, they always found ways to cultivate their joy as well. And so I hope that we are intentional about that too. And I just want to offer to everyone some of the things that I do as well. I think about the three S's. So safety, as I always ground myself in the moment that in this moment I am safe. So we have to think about that's the primary issue. Am I safe right now? Yes, I am safe. The other thing is I thrive on structure as much as possible. So I like to have a structured day as much as possible, even though I know flexibility is needed. But for me, I do well with structure. So think about for you, what does your day do best with? Do you need structure as well? And try to have that structure as much as you can. The third S for me is support. So I reach out to my family, my friends, my therapist. Who are the people who can pour into me and help support me during this time? And then I do other things that ground me too. So I have pets. I play with my pets. I love playing with my pets, but also being in my garden. I found that to be very, very therapeutic because it grounds me in the ground, right? Literally in the ground. So I'm touching the dirt. And it's my way of ancestral healing because I think about how our ancestors didn't own their land. They couldn't really benefit from the
Hmm.
land that they were working on. So for me, that's a form of ancestral healing. So, ladies, can we talk about for Black women, maybe that you work with or that you know, um, what have been some of the, because, I talk about toxic jobs all the time, right? So when we think about the environment right now, what are some of the ways that might manifest in Black women in terms of the workplace? So we've seen in terms of the disproportionate numbers of Black women being laid off from jobs. And we think about the job market and we think about jobs during this time of such insecurity. A lot of Black women who are in toxic jobs might think, I need to stay put because we don't know what's happening. This is not time to leave a toxic job. I got to just stay put. But the other thing that we're seeing right now, which I think is very fearful, is these jobs are being wiped out just like right
Hmm.
away. And generally, Black women, we are the ones who are impacted most by it. So, what are some of the ways that you have heard or seen or experienced Black women, given what's happening right now, how life is lifing, just for everybody right now, and how that may impact them who might be in a toxic job or a job they've outgrown? What are some of the ways they might be impacted?
Hmm.
You can go on,
Yeah.
Marissa.
Yeah, I think the mistreatment that we were experiencing in the workplace has gotten even worse, with people
Mm,
feeling like they have free reign to kind of like say and do whatever they want to us in the
mhm,
workplace.
mhm,
So recognizing that if you're experiencing that, you're not the only one. Unfortunately, this is like a disturbing pattern that we're seeing happen. And I think it's a false choice that's presented to us that we have to endure toxicity, harm, and trauma day after day after day because we know the impacts that that has on our bodies. Is
mm,
not small. And so, as much as you can, getting into communities like this one where we're able to reflect back to you that you do have the power to go in a different direction, even if it's like the fear is like creating this like I just want to stay where I am even if I'm being harmed, even if I'm being
right.
traumatized, recognizing that that is a tool of oppression so often. And if you can see through that with other Black women especially who are reflecting back, right? No,
Mm,
that's not your only choice, that's not your only option. I think that was the underpinning of the summit this year, especially with everything that was going on, right? The power to
mm,
pivot with
mhm,
people sharing how they've done it through fear, moving through fear. Fear doesn't mean a stop sign. It just means
mhm,
that you have to work through, right? And move at your own pace through something. But we're sharing resources, how we've managed to navigate. workplaces,
Mhm.
and realizing that being harmed, being traumatized day after day after day is not the only option, even though that it's presented to us as that.
Right.
Hmm.
Right, right. That's really good. So, Pearl, can you elaborate on maybe some of the things that we learned from the summit, the virtual summit, about fear and pivoting and preparation? So, when we think about leaving a job, so a toxic job, a job you've outgrown, or if you've been laid off, there's always this fear element of what am I going to do now? Like, how am I going to replace my income? So, what were some of the things that maybe you heard from the virtual summit that might help Black women who are grappling with that right now? What are some of the things that stood out to you?
Yeah. So, even though the summit primarily focused on Black women, well, I mean, it's all,
Hmm.
all focused on Black women, but primarily
Yes.
Black women who are in these raggedy, toxic jobs, right? Who are, as you're mentioning, going through these traumas day in and day out, thinking that this is our norm, or
Hmm.
being fearful because there is so much uncertainty. And,
Hmm.
and even though we touched on some things that um, I know spoke to our hearts, they spoke to our spirits, many of the speakers poured into us, but there was also so much laughter, so
Hmm.
much joy. Well, I was
Hmm.
cutting up, but there, I can't help myself. But there was so much encouragement as well.
Yeah.
And everyone that spoke at this year's summit was someone who, like me, like us, were on the other side of this thing. Um,
Hmm.
to be able to encourage that, yes, this is the path that I took. These are some of the things that I did. And there were still, some of the speakers even they still had jobs. They had companies, but they also had jobs. They were helping people that maybe it's time for them to pivot in the industry or use their skills someplace else. So not just, like I need to run and flee, but to make more money, not just from this exurgent, uh, fearful place of like running away.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, this year's summit was different. I mean,
Hmm.
not just because it was more speakers, more attendees, things like that, but it went deeper than I feel last year's summit, which is a good thing. But if you all remember, almost every single person started with some type of breathing exercise or centering. These are people whose presentations had been done, long in advance. They had not spoken to each other. But that's what I love about starting this off how you did, Marissa, with the breathing. And I mentioned during some of my commentary during the summit, like I didn't realize that we hadn't been breathing. We'd been more like sighing, just like, or trying to catch our breath. And the breathing that I learned there is something that I have been doing now since the summit. Like it may seem like a little hippy dippy, but when you are breathing, and you're counting or you're thinking, like how Marissa said, think about some of these things. What are you feeling, hearing? You can't think about anything else. Like your brain is 100% focused on that activity that it's doing. You can't think about those two things at the same time. One is going to win out. And when it's something that's physical, like breathing, it takes the load off. And that is something that I have been doing throughout the day. Um, that has really become just kind of part of just like my gratitude practice that I do in the morning. Um, I say my positivities for other people when I'm thinking about other people, praying for them or whatever. And then I also remind myself to breathe. Like just something so simple is so powerful. And like I said, it may sound like hippy dippy, but I encourage anyone who's watching this, and then also on the replay, just go back to the beginning. Just go back to the beginning and go through what Marissa did and tell me that you don't feel better. Tell me that you don't realize that, oh, my shoulders have been up here, or, you know, I have been holding my face like tightly. Like those are some simple things that's free 99 that work immediately. You know, speaking of women who are like in the thick of it right now, going through it. If you breathe, not that sighing, you know, like not holding your breath out of fear, but just breathing, breathe in and breathe out, and allow, if nothing else, for 2, 3, 4 moments for you to just have some peace in your life. Yeah. So I went off to something else, but you know,
No, no,
I hope
you
I
nailed
answered your
it.
question.
You nailed it. You nailed it. And I just want to say to anyone watching that if there's any tips that you can share with anyone in this community about ways that you are getting centered or staying centered or being grounded, I would love for you to share that either live or in the replay so that we can learn from one another. So as Marissa said, this is a community healing space that we heal in community. And we are the day before Juneteenth. So that really
Mm-hmm.
reminds us again of the importance of our own liberation and just remembering just so many different resources and how we can learn from one another is very important. So connecting to our breath, remember when we can control, even when things feel that
Mm-hmm.
it's just like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is, things are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So we have to really make sure that we're intentional about that. And also remembering Audre Lorde, right? We have to center ourselves. When people say, oh, I'm being selfish, or you being selfish because you doing something for yourself. I reject that, and I encourage you to reject that too, because we need to be able to center ourselves so we can be well. And when I think about Audre Lorde and what she mentioned about our wellness, our self preservation is an act of political warfare. So, my hope is that any Black woman watching this, live or replay, if you're part of Marissa's community, you're part of Pryl's community, you're part of any community with other Black women, that we are intentional in centering our wellness because our wellness is our resistance. Now, I'm not saying it's all easy, just like leaving a job. It's not all easy, okay? And I don't want to lie to you that it's easy. However, what I do want to do is provide community healing spaces like this, and also the virtual summit is are places for us to heal in community and learn from one another. So when we think about leaving a job or if you've been laid off from a job, it's very important for us to think about ways that we can plan and what we have control over. So my hope is that the main takeaway from this conversation is that you've learned different ways to ground yourself. You've learned about resources that are available to you, and you know you're not alone in having this experience. So again, as you're watching this video and there's things that stand out to you about, oh, this is what I do. I take a warm bath with Epsom salts, or I, make sure that I connect to my girls once a week. What is it that you do to help you? Because when we think about what's happening too, we don't want to isolate ourselves, because when we isolate ourselves and we start steeping and ingesting all this negative social media and all this other news, and that keeps us stuck. So we're trying to think about what are the things that can help you get unstuck. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. So, ladies, as we're coming upon Juneteenth, which is tomorrow, any thoughts about the significance of this time and Juneteenth, particularly when we think about being centered right now and being grounded?
Hmm. You know what? Before we answer that question, if you don't mind, can
Mhm.
we just take a couple moments to talk about what centered and like grounded means to
Oh, good
us?
point.
Because I
Good
think if
point.
we talk about some of the ways that we interpret that word, because if some of the viewers are watching and if they don't use those terms, because I don't use those terms, but if they don't use those terms, it may kind of be flying over their head. So do
Ah,
you mind? Okay.
yeah,
So
good
for
point.
me, being centered and grounded means
Mhm,
more about welcoming distractions. It means me being present, like
mhm,
right now, me just focusing
mhm,
on this moment, these next,
mhm,
couple moments,
mhm.
um, and again, controlling some of the things that we can control. It doesn't have to be that our whole day or like the next quarter, anything like that. Just for me.
Mhm.
Grounding and being centered are the times when I say, let me just take a couple moments to focus on fill in the blank, to get
Mhm.
myself together, to get my mind
Mhm.
right, so that I
Mhm.
can be in a place for fill in the blank. So that's what
Yes.
like centering and grounded means to me.
Yes, and I'm glad you said, okay, mental health people, right? Like, can you just break it down for everybody in terms of what centered and grounded is? And when I think about it too, because I have to catch myself, because when I hear about these news stories, sometimes I'm like, how are we gonna make it 4 years of this nonsense? Like, how are we gonna make this? How are we gonna do this? It's crazy. Like, this hasn't even been a full year, right? So I start like
Hmm.
running. My mind starts running, and I have to say, wait a minute, right now, this is what the issue is right now. And right now, this is what I need to do to stay well. And I even did like a series on my YouTube channel about we need to fasten our seatbelts because it's like we're on this roller coaster. And so when on this roller coaster, like they're taking us every which way on the roller coaster. And if we're not settled in, so if we're not grounded and our seatbelts are not set, then we're gonna go flying all over the place, right? So the thing about it is many of us did not sign up to be on a roller coaster. If you're part of the 92%, you did not sign up to be on a roller coaster. I got it. Okay. Didn't want it to happen. However, we need to be grounded 92% about what we're going to do to stay well despite everything that's going on, right? So that grounding and that centering in is what is happening to me, like checking in with ourselves every day, like literally, how am I feeling today? What's going on? What is impacting how I'm feeling today? And what control do I have over whatever that issue is, right? Now, there's things that we have to do each day, but think about what are the ways that you can make it a little less distressing for yourself if you're dealing with things that are challenging for you. What are the things that you can do to make it a little less stressing? So that's my perception or my kind of operationalizing of being centered and grounded. What about for you, Marissa?
I think having body awareness. So a lot of the
Mm,
times when we're in these environments, it's just pure survival mode. So we're not even recognizing how our bodies are responding to
yeah.
things people say to us, the environments that we're in. So the more that you can check in, as you said, with how am I feeling? Where
Mm-hmm.
am I feeling tension? Where can I invite in breath, in movement?
Mm-hmm.
Again, focusing on the things that you can control really can put you in the present moment, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is grounding, right? Being in the present versus those of us with anxiety, like running off into the future, trying to plan like 2, 3, 4 years ahead. It's like, come back to the present moment. What can I do now? How can I
Right.
center?
Yes.
Being in nature as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know you mentioned like gardening, like physically connecting to the earth to
Mm-hmm.
remind you that you can, just as the earth, you can be still, you can be rooted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all those things are coming to mind.
Yeah. And even like when you think about gardening, like something as simple as planting a flower or a plant, like seeing it grow, like that is
Hmm.
just so therapeutic. And being able to like be somewhere and you could just hear the water falling. So that's
Hmm.
quieting our minds and being intentional about that. Now, I do want to raise something too, because Black women are often caregivers and we're often doing everything for everybody. So, how can we as Black women be grounded and centered when we are the caregivers, when people do come to us for other things? And let's say they might be struggling with issues. How can we stay grounded, right? So, how do we show compassion towards people, but we also stay grounded? What are some of the ways that we can do that as Black women?
Okay, so going back to June 19th, real quick. I love, love, love being a Black woman. Okay. Oh, I love it. My mouth is watering. You know, my mouth waters when I get excited. Okay. I love, 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 love being a Black woman. And I love that I'm able to say that. When I was in corporate, I had to have my hair pulled back all the time, censor my clothing. We've talked about this, and I'm sure that those of you who are watching, like, there's some who are fortunate, and I love that for you, who can show up and have, the ethnic hair and the ethnic this, that, and the third. But for the bulk of us, we have to, not only code switch, but we have to wear this kind of costume
Mm-hmm.
and tomorrow, at least, even if you are at home. You didn't get off that day because, not every company lets people off for Juneteenth, but just even if it's internally, just tell yourself that you are an amazing Black woman and just smile for how great you are. Just like there is no one like us in the
Mhm.
world, and there is no one like you, you know,
Mhm.
because
So
we are
great.
all our own individuals, and we are all just uniquely amazing.
Mhm.
Um, but to answer your question, wait a minute, what was your question again? I forgot. I'm
It
sorry.
was as Black women that we're often everything to
Yes,
everybody. And so,
yes,
how do
yes,
we center ourselves as we're often the caregivers and we're looking out for people? How do we do that amidst
yes,
everything going on right now? Life is life. And
yes. So I was the local and international president. I was on the international board of Team Too Much. Like, again, I'm a natural caregiver.
yeah,
And many of the times when things get off kilter is and off balance is because we do not have those boundaries in place. And it's easy to say, like, you got to have boundaries. You got to have boundaries. But what does that look like in real life, in practice, for
true.
someone, who are hearing these things for the first time? Now, like I said, I celebrate all things boundaries, balance, and the joy of choosing myself first. And
Mhm.
even though realistically, you cannot just like that get rid of all of the things that are pulling from you. What you
Mhm.
can do is take a few moments, even if it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes,
Mhm.
whatever it is, to do something for you and you only. It doesn't
True.
matter like how, like nothing is too small. Like nothing is small because
Mhm.
again, for those of us who we give, we are that friend that everyone calls. We
Mhm.
always have all the right things to say. Um, but we don't have a version of us. Like I say,
Mhm.
people had the benefit of Pryl, but I didn't have like a Pryl in my life. I am
Mhm.
Pryl, okay? So instead of that, me looking for someone else or something outside, which will come. But as far as like right now, today, what can you do? If it
Yeah.
is, just even if you got to hide in the bathroom, okay? Because if you have kids, oh my God, you can't even go to the bathroom, okay? And be under the crack of the door. Mommy, blah, 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 blah. But even if you say, like, for 5 minutes, I'm going to go and hide in the bathroom
Mhm.
and I'm not going to answer them. I'm going to do some breathing. Or even if you are on your phone, what can you do that is like what can you spend that time and that energy, like the effort and the like bandwidth, those thoughts,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
can you spend that on that is something that benefits you?
Mhm.
Whether you are saying like what things can I do for myself? Okay,
Mhm.
today I'm in here for my few minutes writing this out on my phone. Maybe tomorrow I will, take a walk or go someplace and not be thinking about them kids. Okay. Maybe
I
when
mean,
I'm
make sure the kid's
eating,
okay, right? Make
yes.
sure the kid's okay. But
Mhm.
also, yes.
Yes, but if I buy something that my mouth was ready for and I was excited to eat, and then it just seems like dogs and kids, not the same, but it's like if they hear any type of can I have some? Well, yeah, can I have? And I know I used to feel guilty. I'm used to
Mhm.
sharing everything and every part of me with like multiple sides and multiple like facets and versions of myself, who I am at work, who I am at church, who I am on this board, who I am as a partner, who I am as a mother, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
all of those things can get you lost and you
True.
not really knowing like how do I do something for myself without feeling guilty. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying small things, even and you will still feel guilty, it will feel weird, but
Mhm.
get you, whatever it is, get you a
Mhm.
snack or something and don't share it. Them kids will be all right. Okay, this is mine. When you drinking, can I have some? No, you know what I mean? Like it could be something just that small, but it's like one step. You put one foot in front of the other. So
Yeah.
it's not small, it's a huge thing. But yeah, that's what I would say. take time, no matter how just like simple it may
Mhm,
be. Take time every single day to do something for yourself. Start
mhm,
today, and
mhm,
tomorrow you're going to
mhm,
maybe do the same thing over, maybe do something different. You will know
mhm.
when it's time for you to keep going. And trust me when I say, okay, it feels so good to choose you. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay, let me
yeah.
stop there
And
because
it
I'm
might be
getting
small
stuff.
pockets, right? So it might not be like hours and hours. It might just be the
Yeah.
small pockets, right? Just go to the bathroom by yourself and just be like, I need a moment. I need a moment to just regroup. I need a moment to just breathe. And even it might be even at a job you don't like or a job you've outgrown, is even going to the bath. I used to go to the bathroom so much just to like get my bearings and just like, oh my God, I need like a mental break from these this crazy situation. So just find those pockets of time is
Mhm.
important.
Yeah, go
Okay.
outside, get some air. Even if you can't go outside, no matter when someone is watching this, or who knows, it may be cold where you live right now. Go
Mm-hmm.
sit by the window.
Mm,
Just changing your point of view from staring at your screen or looking at all them people that's getting on your nerves, focusing on all the sounds and the smells. Somebody done heated up leftover salmon or tuna casserole. Just like, oh
No.
my God. Like it's too much. If you just go outside for a couple minutes, sit in the
yeah.
sun, or go by the window, just
Yes.
to change your scenery. Go in the
Yeah.
cafeteria or go in the break room, go wherever, and just
Mhm.
change your scenery. Okay, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
quiet for you.
Well, I love what you said about going outside because I always tell my clients about ways that we can connect to natural forms of healing. So,
Mhm,
vitamin D outside, that's a
mhm.
natural form of healing, right? Moving our bodies, walking, natural form of healing, and all those are free. So, what are the
Yes.
things that we can do to really cultivate that? And then those small pockets of what we do. Like the end of my day, I'm watching something funny or something that makes me feel good. I'm not going to bed watching something stressful because I don't want to be
No,
processing that in my sleep. So,
no.
Marissa, what about for you in Juneteenth? What significance does Juneteenth have, particularly now, given everything that's going on right now?
I think it's important to center our personal liberation, whatever that looks like, because that looks different for each of us.
True.
Um, but recognizing that we are so powerful, and that's often why we're targeted, right? By
Mm,
people who are intimidated by us, who
good
don't want us to
point.
have that power. And so, like, sitting with the fact that you have the power to put yourself first, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really important because your life should center you. Um, and part of
Mm-hmm.
that has been unlearning like the teachings around service, especially
Mm-hmm.
for Black
Mm.
women, right? And realizing that
We give
you
and
are
give and give and
your
give.
life. Yeah, you are here for your life to be joyful, to be beautiful,
Yes.
to be full.
Yes.
And then redirecting your energy towards you, right? Kind of doing like a reevaluation of the different places that your energy is flowing to, and then
Mm.
noticing that you have the power to redirect that, right? By
Mm-hmm.
it's a process over time, especially those of us who are recovering from people pleasing.
Mhm,
Mm-hmm.
Again, April said like boundary setting may
Mm-hmm.
be new, it may feel scary, but anything
Mm-hmm.
that we do in life, if it's new, it's going to feel scary to start with.
Absolutely.
So recognizing that that fear again does not mean stop. It means take your
Mhm.
time through the process. But knowing like on the other side is it's so beautiful when you're able to say no, when you're able to get
mhm.
to that point, right? And
True.
you have time for yourself. Something that felt impossible when you first started, now you're able to do with ease. And that is a
Mhm.
practice over time.
Mhm,
So the more that you can
Right.
mhm.
implement those small changes and notice where your energy is flowing to, and then
Mhm.
redirecting it back to yourself can be helpful.
Absolutely, right? So it's like it's a muscle that we're developing. It's not easy at first, but you need to
Mhm.
continue to practice it. And the other thing is allowing ourselves to speak our truth, right? So
Yeah.
finding spaces where we're able to talk about our experiences without feeling that we have to filter how
Mhm.
we're expressing things. So we have to do that all the time at work, right? So many of us are self-policing, tone policing ourselves at work. But think about what are the places where we can truly speak our truth. So the hope is like right now, this conversation is us speaking our truth, thinking about other ways that we in community can speak our truth. Because when we don't speak our truth, then that turns into a depression, right? So we're sitting,
Yes.
we're stewing all this
Mhm.
stuff, and we're just ruminating in it. So my
Yes.
hope is that Black women, as we're thinking about life is lifing, okay,
Mhm.
think about where are the places, who are the people that you can talk to share your stories, share your experiences with, and be use some discernment with who you're sharing it with, okay? So your life is life, and please be mindful of who you're sharing this to, okay? Who's in your circle, because if there's people around you, life is life, and you telling them stuff and they're like projecting all their fears onto you, or
Hmm.
they're like making you feel worse, please don't keep telling them your stuff. Please don't do that. They could be your good
Yeah.
friend, they could be your mama, they could be your sister. I don't care who it is. But if they are making you feel worse and you're
Yeah.
trying to share your story, please use discernment and really check your circle and start thinking about, you know what? I've noticed this person has a pattern of each time I tell them something that they are making the worst case scenario, and they're just like, oh, I just want to point this out to you. I just want to be devil's advocate. You don't always need devil's advocate. So think about, who are you sharing information to? If you're sharing things with you and you feel worse after you share it, the thought is that when you share things with people, you feel better, right?
Right.
That's
Get
what
it off your
therapy is
chest.
so healing, is
Yeah.
that you're getting it out of your body and you're getting the support. If there's people around you, you're sharing things with you and you feel worse, please use some boundaries with that. Have discernment. Also, think about therapy. If life is lifing right now, think about, if you're not currently in therapy, maybe consider going into therapy. I have videos about how to find a therapist. So check that out. Check out, there's resources available to you. There's the Loveland Foundation, which often provides free therapy vouchers for Black women. The Loveland Foundation is in the description section of this video. Check it out. A number of my therapy clients have used the Loveland Foundation vouchers. So let us lean into, what are the resources that are available to us as Black women. So as we're winding down, ladies, can you please share about your YouTube channel, anything that you have to offer to support the healing of Black women? So I'll start with you, Pryl.
Well, so yes, my YouTube channel is right there, Positively Pryl. And speaking of stepping back, okay, as you all know, I stepped back for well, a little over 5 months, um, to really allow myself to just be able to have my thoughts be clear, to
Mm,
allow myself to be present, to allow
mhm.
myself to, be a professional background singer, okay? Because I got paid. Um,
Okay.
or any like macrame or metal arts, things like that. And a lot of those things that I have learned, as you all know, I'm not a fan of gatekeeping, as none of us are. And I
Mhm.
really want, as you mentioned, Marissa, to be able to experience what it is like on the other side of this.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
my YouTube channel is taking a turn, really bringing more of my like I don't want to say like silly side, but I'm gonna be, I'll be cutting up. Like I'm going to show all of me because I need people to know that it is okay to be how you are. It is okay to not have answers to all the questions. It is okay to not know, who or what you want to be when you grow up.
Mhm.
So I'll be on there
And then
cutting
it's
up.
evolving. It's evolving too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the exciting part. Like every day
Mhm.
we wake up, we have our entire lives ahead of us. Like
Mhm.
that's how I view it. Like, instead
Mhm.
of I am, about to hit 50, or instead of, it's too late for this. It's too, like, I don't think like that. I think every day I wake up in a place of gratitude, I have my entire life ahead of me.
Mhm.
So I'm really looking forward to sharing a lot of those things and really helping Black women get to a place where they too can cut up. Okay.
Yes.
And then also subscribe to my channel, of course. Go ahead and hit the notification bells. But another thing is, if you look in the description of any of my videos, it will say like how we can link up. Go ahead and subscribe to my newsletter. Don't worry, I'm not one of I need to get better about it. So I was about to say I'm not one of those people that to spam you. I'm at the other end of the spectrum. But again, balance, balance. But yeah, there are going to be some opportunities to work with me one on one. So I am getting back into the coaching space. Yay. So yeah, just stay tuned. Because again, whoever is watching this, girl, your entire life is ahead of you too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I want to say something for Marissa, you share about your resources. It's interesting, Pryl, that when you start talking about like showing this different side of you, it was almost like you kind of like, kind of like, I think sometimes we moderate or we kind of limit
Mhm.
that, like we're not supposed to have that. And I love that you are sharing that with us as Black women, that the lighter side of life, and that we don't always have to be so serious and
Mhm.
always carrying a heavy load. Like we can be joyful. And
Mhm.
the part that makes me so sad for us as Black women sometimes is sometimes feeling that because life is so challenging for so many of us, that we don't have time for joy. Joy is not for us. We too old for joy. I'm like, girl, let us reject that. Let us reject that. And I
Mhm.
love how you like, girl, I'm letting my silly side out. And I want more of us to do that because it feel like you're connecting to that inner little Pryl, right?
Mhm.
That joyful side of her. And I think a lot of us have lost sight of who the inner little girl is. So I love that you're doing that. So thank you for sharing that. What about
Mhm.
for you, Marissa? What are the ways that you're supporting Black women?
Yeah, so through my YouTube channel, Marissa Price Heals, which is a safe place on the internet for Black women to heal from trauma, to share resources and knowledge with each other. I've had so many amazing guests that have come through and just dropped so many gems about how they made it from point A to point
Mhm.
B, which I
Yes.
think is really important for us to be able to share in community. So please subscribe to my channel, Marissa Price Heals, for content like that. I just wrapped up a 5-day healing series for sensitive, introverted Black women.
Nice.
Yes.
And so that is the focus of my content. I also have an upcoming group healing program called Silence Your Inner Critic for
Nice.
sensitive Black women, unlearning negative self talk and reclaiming their authentic voice, which starts Sunday, July 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We'll be meeting every Sunday in July at that time. But yes, this is if you are constantly ruminating on past things people have told you that you have internalized, whether
Mm.
from toxic jobs, family systems, how do you begin to uproot that
Mhm.
from your being really and come back to who you are authentically, which is often like going back to the childhood versions of ourselves before we
Absolutely.
heard these messages, getting back to the core of who we are. So yes, and the link to register for that is here. So silenceinnercritic.card with two r's .co,
Yeah.
and also on my channel as well on the YouTube community tab. So
I
yes.
love it. I love it. And
Okay. I
everybody,
thought about something else. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say something. Marissa did this really, really, really touching, beautiful video about father wounds, and
Oh,
you all need to watch that. It was so
Oh,
beautiful.
thank
And
you.
she made a comment about that each of us, we deserve love, and we deserve goodness even if we didn't
mhm.
get that growing up, and how it's so important for us to connect to those things in our past that have maybe told us lessons, but we were a child, we didn't ask for any of those things. So I love that video. So thank you for sharing that. It even inspired me to do my own version of a father wound video. So
Mhm.
again, I think it's important for us to really connect to those things in our lives that we have unresolved issues in relation to, because it's still
Mhm.
impacting us to this day if we don't connect to those issues. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your work, and thank you for collaborating with me for so many different things,
Absolutely.
including the virtual summit. Pro, you were going to say something?
Oh, yes. Something I did remember is I have a playlist on my channel that's 10 days of gratitude for Black women.
Ooh,
And it's just some videos with questions to ask. They're bite sized, a few minutes long, no more, I don't think, than 5 minutes. And it's something that you can start to do. As I mentioned, I start each day with a gratitude practice.
yes.
And this is something that I started doing when I was going through it, when I would
Mm,
cry on my way to work, when I would cry in the parking lot, when I would be in the bathroom crying,
mm,
when, as you mentioned, the Sunday scaries, like this is something in order to move from the place where you are and to move like in alignment and have the timing be divine.
yes.
You have to be in a place to, even if it's chaos, as you mentioned, going on around you, you are grateful for fill in the blank. And
It's
it is not about other people. Okay. That's one thing, over in my part of the YouTube streets, it's not about other people. Like we already got that down. Okay. We know we know we can make it about other people. But
mm-hmm.
again, just some of those things, celebrating your uniqueness, being grateful
Yes.
for your joy, being grateful for your journey, being
Mm-hmm.
grateful for I'm trying to think of everything, but yeah, just and I will, if you don't mind, Dr. Kamani, to put that
Absolutely.
in the description.
Absolutely.
But just go look at those. There's affirmations in
Oh,
there,
it's
and that
beautiful.
is what I do for myself. That is the first step because, as you mentioned, there's things that have happened, there's things that are
Yeah.
still happening, and
Yeah.
it's very easy for us to get stuck. So if you're going
Mhm.
to spend some time dedicated to doing things that are for you, doing some things to help you at least make some type of progress to
Mhm.
get, like you said, Marissa, from that where you are now to where you can't even think about
Mhm.
yourself being,
Yeah.
you have to be in a place of gratitude,
Yeah.
just as you go through that entire process. So yeah.
Yeah. First, I want to say I love what you just said too, because we have to honor our journey, have gratitude for our journey. And if I think about like all the things I've gone through in my life, the ups and the downs, like if I didn't have the ups and the downs, I never would have been here right now. I never would have met
Mhm.
you all right
Right.
now. And
Right.
so all these things happen for a reason that we learn from. And it's talking about like post traumatic growth. So just being able to reflect on the journey is so healing too. You're able to look like, oh my God, I remember years ago when I was at a toxic job, I thought I couldn't get out. Like I was thinking all these negative, dark thoughts, but look at where I'm now. And so the gratitude for that, I need to be able to reflect back, but also think about where I am right now and ways that all of us here are pouring into one another. I love to hear about Black women supporting one another. I love it. I'm like, girl, what you got to share? What you got? What you got? What you got? Right?
Yeah.
Because I just feel like there's so many things that so many of us need, and I don't
Mhm.
want us to, like keep it in a silo. Like, oh, I can't share what somebody else is doing. I'm like, I don't believe in that. Like, we
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
all support and learn from one another. So I'm always about how do we uplift one another? How do we share resources with one another?
Mhm.
And one of the resources that we talked about was the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, as I have going
Mhm.
across the screen. The replay is available for purchase. So the information is going across the screen. It'll also be in the description section of this video. So before we end, as our community, I want to honor our community and I want to read our community chat, and we're going to start winding down, right? So people saying good topic, saying no to preserve your own peace. Yes, boundaries is very important. I see another comment. I would love to collaborate with you guys on telling you my story. I'm currently in the process of leaving my career of 20 years in local government after facing bullying, harassment, and racial and disability discrimination, threats, and surveillance. I follow you all on LinkedIn. Hold on a second. I follow you all on LinkedIn and have found the strength to take legal action. And I was inspired
Nice.
by finding this community. Yes, listening to the advice
Yay.
given and putting my health and myself first. The stories I could tell you would shock you. Wow, sis. I'm so sorry that that was your journey. I am full of gratitude that this community has been helpful for you. And I'm full of gratitude that you're finding your way out. Okay. So if you want to connect to us, we're all on LinkedIn. You can send us a message and we would love to hear more about your story. And then she continues, I found my tribe of Black creatives and I'm going back to my creative background. And I'm in the UK. It's 1:38.
Yay.
Go, girl. And I am working on creating a new empire. Yes. One thing I do to center myself is every morning I sit in my garden and whilst drinking coffee, I say what I'm grateful for.
I
I
love
manifest
that.
and I spend 2 minutes every morning journaling and free writing my thoughts. That is absolutely, I love the healing. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. So I see people like love team too much, right? I used to call myself, yeah, team do too much. Like sit down, like stop, right? I think a lot of us struggle with that. Okay, so thank you
Yeah.
for calling
Yeah.
calling that out. Speak on it. Hey, hey, happy pre Juneteenth. Hey, y'all. Hey, Glamazini, how you doing, girl?
Hey.
You. Good to see you. And I just want to shout out Glamazini because not only did she do her thing with our summit promotional video, if you didn't see that promotional video, you need to watch it because Glamazini did that and she did her thing. Okay.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
when I first saw it, it brought tears to my eyes. I was like, girl, like she captured exactly
Yeah.
what we wanted. I was like, how did she get in my head? In fact, she did better than with the vision I even had. It was amazing. And I also want to say publicly to Glamazini that I quote you often And I really appreciate how your channel has been very intentional about healing out loud, healing out loud.
Mhm.
Each of us right here on the screen, we are healing out loud in the hopes that we can support other Black women in their healing journey. So thank you, Glamazini. Thanks for having this conversation this evening. Go, girl. Joy, that's my new word. Hey, ladies. Okay. So, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope that everyone has a fabulous Juneteenth, that we remember that we grow from our ancestors, that we know that we're standing on the shoulders of greatness, that our ancestors have gone through so much to go through what they went through. And I'm pretty sure that they would not want us living a life of fear or a life of feeling like there's no way out. Okay, there is a way, but we have to make sure that we are centered and grounded so we don't get swept away with all the nonsense. There's a whole bunch of nonsense, and guess what? The nonsense is not going to stop. So we have to be intentional every day of centering and grounding ourselves. My hope is that you go back and look at this video again. That breathing, that activity that Marissa did today, so healing, so healing. So go back and look at that over and over and over again. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, Pryl's channel, Marissa's channel, go and subscribe to all of our channels. It is absolutely free. Absolutely free. Get your replay of the virtual summit, and we will see you later. And make sure you share this with 2 other Black women, okay? So, ladies, everyone, I will see you later. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
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 Thank you.